Chapter 2 Silver Haired Girl. Subaru felt the intensity of her gaze, sharp and scrutinizing as she repeated her demand. Why ignoring me? And calm down already, would you? Now answer me. He hesitated, swallowing hard before responding. I have to say that I don't really know. The senior she mentioned was probably something like the badges of lawyers or prosecutors or defense force members carried to prove their identity. Unfortunately, Subaru had no memory of seeing anything like that in the hour or so he had been here. Back home, he had a mountain of toy badges he had collected as a child. Offering one of those would be absurd, not to mention he'd probably get smashed by her ice magic, not even a good way. As it stood, his answer couldn't possibly meet her expectations. To his surprise, the girl nodded, seemingly unbothered by his lack of knowledge. I see. That's that. Then, but I learned that you don't really know anything, so that will suffice as a compensation for Puck giving you a lap pillow. Her logic was baffling, as though she considered her loss inconsensual. Before Subaru could respond, she clapped her hands together decisively, leaving him dumbfounded. I'll be going then. Sorry, but I'm in a hurry. Your well being is safe, and those thugs probably won't come after you again after how scared they were. Still, wandering into the deserted alleys alone at a time like this is basically suicide. Don't get me wrong, I'm not worried about you or anything, just giving you a fair warning. If this happens again, don't expect me to save you. She spoke rapidly, barely pausing for breath, and seemed satisfied with his silence as she stood away. Her long silver hair swayed with her movements. It's a fairy tale, luster even visible in the gloomy alley. Sorry about that. She is just she can't be upfront about things. My daughter here, don't think her strange for it. The cat landed lightly on her shoulder and she patted it back. Moments later, it vanished into her hair. Subaru's eyes followed her retreating form as she walked away, her determined evident.
He mulled over the cat's words and her actions. It seemed she had been robbed of something important, and despite pursuing the culprit, she had stopped to save a stranger. She had accompanied him, stayed until he woke, and then dismissed her efforts as part of some self-serving logic. She demanded nothing in return. Living like that, you're going to lose everything, Subaru muttered. Rising to his feet, he dusted off his dirt-covered jersey. Though it was filthy, it had sustained no real damage, and more importantly, all the pain from his earlier beating was gone. Stretching and rotating his shoulders, he marveled at the absurdity of his ability, and at the girl's abnormal kindness. Hey, wait up. She paused at the edge of the alley, glancing back with an irritated expression. Smoothing down her hair, she spoke coldly. What? We've said everything we needed to say. We're just strangers who cross paths for a moment. Don't say such heart-rending things. Even if you're ready to end this, I'm not. Her eyes narrowed as he approached, blocking her path. That thing's important to you, right? Let me help you find it. But you don't. It's true I don't know the culprit's name or background, but I know what she looks like. A snaggletooth girl with striking blonde hair. She's shorter than you, maybe 2 or 3 years younger, and... His words tumbled out in a panicked rush, laced with unnecessary details about appearances and fetishes. Even he was repulsed by his rambling. Before he could spiral further into regret, she interrupted. You're a strange guy. Her voice was calm, her head tilted slightly as she observed him like some peculiar specimen. She sighed, her tone softening. Let me just say this. I can't offer you anything in return. I'm completely broke. It was all stolen, you see. Relax, Subaru replied with a grin. I'm basically broke too. There's nothing reassuring about that, she muttered. Ignoring her remark, Subaru thumped his chest. I don't need a reward. I just want to thank you. I haven't done anything to deserve your thanks, she insisted. You already repaid me for being safe. Smiling bitterly at her stubbornness, Subaru continued, if so, I'll help you for my own sake too. My goal is simple. I want to do some good deeds. Good deeds. That's right. Do enough, and you'll get to heaven when you die. That's my dream life, living self-indulgently in eternal paradise. So you have to let me help. She looked at him thoughtfully while the cat on her shoulder poked her cheek with its paw. I'm not sensing any malice. Wouldn't it be best to accept his offer? You don't have any leads, and you can't search the entire capital on your own. But, your stubbornness is cute, but don't let it cloud your judgment. I'd hate to think my daughter was a fool. The cat's teasing caused her to frown, muttering protests under her breath. After a long pause filled with indecisive murmurs, she sighed. I really can't give you anything, you know. Finally, she extended her hand, and Subaru grasped it firmly, a triumphant grin spreading across his face. The first friendly interaction in this new world began about 30 minutes ago when Subaru offered to help the girl in a heartwarming exchange. Now, however, the situation was tense. What exactly is this? She asked coldly, her dissatisfied gaze piercing Subaru, who had just stumbled upon something. Her sharp demeanor left no room for misunderstanding. That cold gaze is actually kind of exciting. Wait. No, it can't be. I was an M all along. Subaru's muttered self-realization earned an audible sigh. I don't know what this nonsense is, but you're talking complete rubbish, she retorted, crossing her arms in visible frustration. Her exasperation was scathing but justified. Subaru's contributions over the past half hour had been negligible at best. He had volunteered to help her search for a missing item, yet several obstacles hampered their progress. First and foremost, Subaru had no idea where he was. Being summoned from another world had left him disoriented, and to make matters worse, the girl was equally unfamiliar with the area. They spent 10 fruitless minutes wandering back alleys, each assuming the other knew the way. In hindsight, it was almost comical, but at the time, it was anything but. Secondly, Subaru couldn't read the local language. While verbal communication wasn't an issue, the written word was another story. The symbols around him resembled hieroglyphics, likely this world's alphabet. Without the ability to read signs or maps, he was entirely reliant on her to navigate. This explosion in difficulty is absurd, he grumbled, lamenting the lack of overpowered cheats so common in stories of this nature. Instead, he was stuck without even the minimum preparation for survival. The girl's patience wore thinner. You've been hiding behind me this whole time. You haven't been helpful in the slightest. I mean, it's scary talking to strangers, Subaru admitted sheepishly. You're not some kid, she snapped, her sharp eyebrows furrowing. Subaru's social skills had atrophied over the past year. Every attempt to gather information ended with him clinging silently to her, like a shy child. Watching his pitiful efforts, the small, fluffy cat perched on her shoulder decided to intervene. Relax. At least he means no harm, the cat said in a playful tone. That's even worse, she replied flatly. Incompetence with good intentions is harder to deal with than malice. The girl sighed heavily but didn't abandon the search. Their latest lead brought them to the slums, an area steeped in gloom and filth. Subaru's unease grew with every step. They said stolen goods are usually handled here, she explained. Why not leave this to the guards? They'd find it quicker with more manpower, Subaru suggested. No way. Her refusal was immediate. The guards won't bother with petty theft, and I have my reasons for not involving them. Subaru nodded, respecting her privacy. He didn't need to pry. Besides, he'd already resolved to see this through. Alright, what's next? The cat, introduced as Puck, chimed in again. Decide quickly. I'll have to leave soon. I can't stay awake at night. 9 to 5, huh? Spirits have tough schedules, Subaru mused. Despite his attempts at humor, the girl's patience wore thinner. If you're coming, stay close. This area is dangerous, especially after dark. Subaru's determination flared. I'm not staying behind. I'll stick right with you. She sighed again. Fine. Just don't slow me down. They moved deeper into the slums, the tension growing with every step. Subaru tried to lighten the mood with jokes, but they fell flat, earning only cold glances. Finally, he realized something. Hey, I know your cat's name, but what about yours? Her silver hair swayed as she turned slightly. After a pause, she whispered, Sattler. The name hung in the air, her tone unreadable. Subaru hesitated, unsure if she wanted him to use it. Puck's quiet mutter broke the silence. That's in terrible taste, the spirit remarked, unheard by either. Despite the cryptic exchange, Subaru's resolve solidified. He wasn't sure what lay ahead, but he'd see it through to the end. For her and for himself. Their investigation led them deep into the slums, a place riddled with signs of hardship, only for an unexpected development to make Subaru unexpectedly useful. This place is surprisingly welcoming, Subaru said, eyes wide in disbelief. What is this? Could it be? Have I finally entered my popular phase? For the first time since kindergarten. As a child, Subaru had delicate features and long hair, often leading to him being mistaken for a girl. Now, over a decade later, that memory wasn't exactly laughable. Well, I've got a theory, Sattler interjected. Let's hear it. If it's scientific, or wait, since this is a fantasy world, is it magical? If it's a magical explanation, I'm all ears. This probably isn't what you're hoping for, but it's your appearance. You're filthy, and you've got traces of blood on you. These people are struggling, so they likely find you relatable. I understand completely, damn it all, Subaru lamented. An elderly woman, smiling kindly, handed Subaru a small, dry fruit. Eat this and stay strong, she said. Nervously, he bit into it. Beneath its hard surface was a faint sweetness, followed by a horrendous odor. A violent wave of nausea overtook him, and he collapsed. She poisoned me. That was poison. My whole body's on fire. I might actually die, or, worse, strip and die from embarrassment. That was a boko fruit, Sattler explained, finger tapping her lip. It stimulates your mana and accelerates healing. It's usually soothing. Usually. Then why am I dying? Well, she continued thoughtfully, it seems your body circulates mana too efficiently. If you overdose, it could be fatal. You could have told me that before I ate it, Subaru wailed. Puck, Sattler called, and her spirit companion emerged from her hair, yawning. What is it? I'm at my limit here. Sattler pointed at Subaru. He's overheated. Do something. Puck blinked, his drowsy eyes lighting up. Well, looks like a feast. Be gentle, Subaru yelped. With an apologetic smirk, Puck reached toward Subaru. A moment later, Subaru felt something intangible draining from every pore. It was profoundly uncomfortable, but the heat subsided. That hit the spot, Puck declared, patting his belly. Subaru shivered violently as a chill replaced the heat. Now I'm freezing. Do you spirits not know moderation? Sattler scolded. Puck, sorry. His mana flows strange. His gait leaks like crazy. I might have overdone it a bit. Gait, Subaru echoed. So it's like, MP. His gamer instincts kicked in. And you drained mine dry. I'll make it up to you, Puck offered sheepishly before fading into particles of light. Sattler stroked the crystal he disappeared into before tucking it into her robe. All right, she said. We're alone now, but don't try anything weird. I can use magic. Relax. Subaru threw up his hands. I haven't been alone with a girl since elementary school. Do you think I could try something? Look at me. That's both convincing and depressing, she muttered. Let's go. Without Puck, we'll need to stay cautious. I'll take point. I'll watch our backs, Subaru agreed. Don't worry, if my danger sense goes off, we'll retreat. That's reassuring, except it isn't. Their search continued, and Subaru's growing confidence in questioning the locals finally bore fruit. A tricky little blonde, huh? Sounds like Felt, one man remarked after Subaru's cheerful inquiry. Felt, Subaru repeated. Yeah, if she stole something, it's probably in the loot house. Stolen goods get stored there for sale. What if the owner just skips town with the loot? Subaru asked. He's trusted not to, but even if you find your stuff, you'll need to buy it back. Sattler frowned deeply. Why should I pay for what was stolen from me? Subaru nodded in agreement but acknowledged the reality. We don't even know the insignia's value, though. It has a jewel in the center, Sattler explained, avoiding Subaru's gaze. It's not cheap. Subaru's unease grew. You don't know its value. Does it matter? She snapped. Well, we'd better figure out how to negotiate when we get there, Subaru said, avoiding further confrontation. 10 minutes later, they stood outside the loot house, grappling with their lack of funds and options. Worst case, Subaru muttered, I've got a reckless plan. Reckless. Sattler raised a brow. Relax. I'll handle it. Though unconvinced, Sattler nodded. Together, they stepped into the unknown.